thank you to all of you who showed up today. I know that our time is, pulled in these different directions, but I'm glad that you're giving this space for yourself because I have to say, this book, if we just take a breath in, is unbelievable. I'm like halfway through, so I got quite a bit more done, and I will read the rest before the next one. And I will have to read it again and again because there's so much to unpack. So, for those watching the recording later and haven't met me before, Helen Patterson. I am the founder of Life Works Well, an HR consultancy. And it's been really interesting because this year has been a transition year for me as well. And I have a huge passion for mentorship. And so yesterday we announced our 1 million mentor moments initiative, which is something that I've been thinking about for a couple of years now. I'm also in very close to the final edits of Create a Mentor Culture, How to Mentor with Heart and Start a Ripple Effect. And so as we think about our purpose, our dreams, the work that Nava's doing is just incredible of allowing us to actually look at, where we've lost our freedom and, the choices we make and how we want to live our lives. And I tell you, there's a lot coming at us right now. There is devastation around the world. There is things in our local community. There continues to be, discrimination and unfairness and systems that aren't supporting. We are all one humanity, and yet we're so divisive. So I'm going to leave that with you to think about as we continue to read in our journey with CONEtrolled. I think this will open up a lot of eyes and a lot of change in the world as you continue, Nava, with your work. So thank you again for doing this 3-part series with us. And if you haven't met Nava, check her out. Just an amazing, amazing human being. So Dr. Nava Israel. I mean, I've just got to know Nava in the last year or so, even though we've been connected socially for a long time. And I just can't wait to spend more time and learn more about your journey. Not only a professional educator, a social innovator, and the next phases of how you are going to share your wisdom and knowledge and your body of work. And I'm so excited for you with introducing the cone model and just all of the things that some of us don't even see. So you can check out, again, the book is an eye opener. I really suggest people to check it out. Nava will, touch base. She's going to spend some time going through like the second part of our reading, and then we're going to open it up for questions. So it's a little different, but feel free if you'd like to also comment throughout, and we'll take some pauses to sort of dive in. Like one thing that I don't know if you're going to cover a lot, but we need a whole session on, just the personas. So the augmenters,
Talk
the
about them today.
magicians, the charmer, oh good, the partner, the shepherd.
Yes.
I'm relating to some. So that's really interesting. So I'm going to just put it over to Nava. Again, when you do want to come out, you can introduce yourself, put your comments in the chat. And also, I'd love for you to share. So I know, okay, level, I do want to have Nava do her presentation. So if you want to just be real brief about your question, and then we'll dive into that part of it. And don't worry that you haven't read it. It's okay. So over to you, and then we'll get
Thank you.
started.
Thank you for making this space, Helen, and thank you, Nava, for agreeing to do this. And like Helen said, I haven't read the book, but basically, I raised my hand to say I've been having a lot of tech issues this morning, so I might just abruptly get logged out. I will try to get back in, but if I'm not able to, I just wanted to say thank you ahead of time, and Yeah, it'll be unfortunate that I won't be able to attend the full,
Yeah.
but just
Okay.
wanted to
It's
say.
okay. It's the wind and the weather, like everybody's having it right now. But Lovell is a passionate, we met through HR professional association and started her own business and, sharing her knowledge and some other events. So I'm glad I hope it works and you stay because I think you're going to really love it. So I just want to make sure you can share the,
Mhm.
let me just make sure that you can share multiple participants. There we go. And yeah, and Andrea, I'm so glad you're here again. And we'll get going. I'm so glad that we're recording it so that we can actually share all the wisdom as well out there because it's definitely worthwhile.
Thank you so much, Helen, for having me here. I am so delighted to be with my peers, with people who are passionate about seeing a change in this world and being active participants in changing this world for the better. I think it is a noble call for each and every one of us. Um, so last time I started talking about, so we sort of discussed the principles of what the cone is. And just a reminder, sorry, I'm trying, okay, just a reminder. So the cone, sorry, not very healthy today, but we'll be okay. Um, the cone is a construct, is a social construct that we create or that is created for us and we inherit. And it is starting from core certainties. So these are the things that we are told are the normal. These are the things that we believe in so deeply that we never question them. And they inform what we see in life as our problems. Because some problems are real, like, a hurricane, but most problems in our lives are created by these core certainties, the things we're so sure about, like who our enemies are, or how we need to look like, or how we should behave with others. All of these things create problems that were created for us. And these problems translate into needs. And then these needs create solutions. Not all solutions are great because many of them are driven by profiteers who want us to use their solutions. And solutions are anything. Solutions are a relationship is a solution to solitude. A family is a solution to procreation. The healthcare system is a solution to our health problems. So a solution is everything that we are served by, everything that we participate in. Every solution eventually, if it catches on, becomes a system. And a system, as you can see, everything narrows and narrows and narrows. And the narrowing is our freedoms and our creativity, because the system tells us exactly how it should be. It becomes scalable and it becomes self-aware. It starts protecting itself more than it serves the needs of the system. And eventually we have the dogma at the very tip, and the dogma locks us. It is now becoming the one and only solution, which you cannot question. You must be loyal to, you must profess to others, and you must love and cherish and give away your freedom to it. And the two arrows that you see are the forces that drive the cone. So on one side, there is an arrow that is the well-intended one. We want good solutions. We want good systems. And then the other side is the self-interested, the selfish one, the exploitive one that pushes this dogma to benefit a few. Oops. So the question I will start with today is, who builds cones? We may think, because dogma is so controlling and oppressive and harmful often times, that it's like, the proverbial villains, the horrible villains from Marvel that come from another planet. But actually, these are just people. people like us, well, maybe not like us, but similar to us, you know, they can be our neighbors, they can be a public figure that we know. It doesn't take someone to be born a villain to build a cone, because power corrupts. And as people get into power, or they are hungry for power because of their, you know, deprived childhood or what have you, it is very easy to be swallowed into building a cone and becoming heartless, unfortunately. So how do they do it? What is the magic? Every cone builder has a persona, at least one, usually more. A persona is basically the way we come across, right? What we pretend to be in a way. This is our mask. So there are several personas, there are many, but I selected a few that are sort of the major ones to describe. So the first one is the charmer. And the charmer comes across as someone really light-hearted. Charmer, right? The charming person, usually humorous, light-hearted, very quick to create bonds, very quick to build trust. And our ancient brains tell us if someone is nice and kind, they are trustworthy. There's no reason they would want to harm me if they smile at me, right? Or if they tell jokes. So the charmer is one persona that attracts people. And before you know it, it's like the black hole. You know, you don't know you're there until you're swallowed into it. It's the same thing with personas. They attract you with things that would attract that particular person. We will speak about who's vulnerable to what. But once they have your buy-in, they have their claws into you, and then it's too late for you. The next persona is the partner. These are the people who pretend to be just like you. And because they are just like you, obviously you have so much in common, you can trust them. You know, they make you feel seen, and they feel your pain, and they say we understand each other because we come from the same, you know, harsh conditions or something like that. Most of them lie. Most of them are very privileged people who know how to play the game. But it attracts people who need to be seen, who need to be heard, who feel that they are not represented, that they are not heard and seen. And therefore, this kind of persona attracts them to these cone builders. Then we have the shepherd. And I always found the term, you know, shepherd as something positive, really funny, because shepherds are, you know, the sheep for the shepherds are not pets. They are food and wool and milk. And it's the same thing for the cone builder who has the shepherd persona. And what does this persona say? They say, it's like the parental figure. You can trust me. I'm your guardian. You know, I will lead you to safety. I will always keep your best interest in mind over mine. Of course, these are all lies, but these are very useful ploys for people, especially people who are vulnerable because they've had a difficult childhood, because they've been abandoned by society, and they need that parent figure. They are very much attracted to the shepherd persona. Then there is the superstar. And the superstar is all about being glamorous, is all about being bigger than life, and is all about the fantasy of, if you side with me, if you follow me, some of my glamour will sort of sprinkle down at you, right? You will become my posse. You will become a little bit me. Again, it is an illusion. It is an illusion, and it appeals to people who, especially in our societies where we worship superstars in different shapes and forms, like the influencers and people who shine and sparkle and speak highly. We worship these people, and so it's very easy for them to attract quite a few followers based on their glamour. And in our minds, if someone is very famous in one thing, obviously they will be good at everything. And that's just the halo bias, right? Then there is the rebel. And the rebel is just as it sounds. This is the person who comes with anger. They come with anger, with angst. They come from a justified place. They come and sweep the crowds to follow them based on the fact that they pretend to say truths that no one else dares saying, the harsh truths. And they say, follow me, and everything is justifiable. One of their charms, so they have two sort of parts of charm. One charm is if you feel that you've been silenced throughout your life and that you have opinions that were inappropriate to speak out and you kept it in, suddenly there's this mouthpiece, that speaks your truths. But beyond that, there is a much darker side to it, because rebels justify atrocities. Rebels justify everything that is dark in us, right? And they say, it's okay to kill. Who said it isn't, so long as the ones that you kill are the ones who deserve to die? Or, it's okay to steal from these people because they are not really people. So all of this darkness that we harbor and we are taught to suppress and never show suddenly becomes justifiable. Suddenly we become righteous in our violence. And there is nothing more appealing to some people than that. And especially people who live with a lot of anger and angst. And then, of course, there's the savior. And the savior, again, as well, bigger than life, but not like the superstar. They are not sparkly and cute and interesting. They are the megalomaniacs. They are the bigger than life in ways that, if you're not following such a person, would seem ridiculous. But these are the prophets and the self-proclaimed gods, and the big egos and personas. And for them, they don't see the need to justify why you need to follow them. They are here to save you. Just say thank you. And they will save you from imaginary enemies that they will come up with people that they scapegoat. And some of them will save you from yourself, because you may be a sinner and they will wash your sins away, right? It all depends on who it is and what their merchandise is, basically. But the savior is this grandiose persona. Now, cone builders don't usually use only one persona. Actually, the greatest power is using as many personas as possible so that you appeal to as many weaknesses as possible, to as many recruits as possible. One of the I guess, recent examples is Donald Trump. Regardless of his politics, this man is capable of using every single persona. He uses I don't think he's charming, but he uses this humor to charm his crowds. He is the partner, right? He kept saying, I am the man of the people. I am like you, regardless of the fact that he lives in a golden mansion, but people buy into that bullshit. And the shepherd, I will lead you to the promised land where you need to be. And he's the superstar, he has TV shows, he had things like he had that superstar clout around him. And he is the rebel. He's the one who says, you're ugly and this disabled person is ridiculous. Like all these ugly things that we can't believe he is saying. And yet it appeals to so many of his followers because These are the people who always wanted to say that and never dared. And here you go. Suddenly someone justifies all your darkness and ugliness and says that it's okay. And of course, now he is the savior. He is the best in the world. He is here to save everyone. Thank you very much. You're welcome. So you can see that cone builders that become cone masters, they must have a persona, at least one, if not more, to attract followers. And once followers fall into their black hole, it is very difficult then for us to see outside of it or to think that we were duped, because no one wants to believe that they are duped, right? That someone really pulled one over them. So who are the people who are the most vulnerable recruits? The most vulnerable recruits are the extremes. So if you look at this chart, you will see that in the middle, these are the difficult recruits. These are the people who are moderate, they are centered, they're not very poor, they're not very stressed, they're not extreme, they're like, this is life. I'm okay with that. I just keep doing my thing. They are the hardest ones to recruit because there's nothing, they have very few hooks to pull them into something extreme. The people on the extremes, either one side or another, they are the low-hanging fruit. They are the easy recruits because these personas, these cone builders will know how to hook them based on their vulnerabilities. So what are the most common vulnerabilities? Again, there are many, but I sort of selected the most common ones. One is I call them the repeats, the people who've done it before. So think about basic things, marketing. If you have donated to a cause, these marketers will come back to you time and again to ask for another donation and another donation because you are now the low-hanging fruit, because you've already said yes. And it is easier to get more from someone who said yes than to appeal to someone who you've never tapped, right? So the repeats are really a low-hanging fruit, and the repeats, it doesn't have to be selling goods, although that is also a cone, but it can be, I've participated in at a demonstration against something. I was a member of a movement that maybe succeeded, perhaps failed. So someone who's already done something, someone who is following an influencer and donated money to them for that cause, these are the repeats. So I appeal to them, and the way I do it is there are two sides. Remember, there are two extremes on each side. On one side, there are the ones who were successful in their previous endeavor, whatever it was. And the other side are the people who followed a specific cause or endeavor but failed. Each of them has a different motivation. The ones who failed are ashamed of being failed and they want another chance. The ones who succeeded are very confident in themselves and they want to continue doing that same thing. So they are two easy kinds of recruits. Then we have the domineering on one side and the insecure on the other side. And the interesting thing is that the domineering are also insecure. They deal with their insecurity through domineering, but the appearance is different, right? The domineering, all they want is to dominate other people. They want to feel powerful. They want to feel in control. They don't have much empathy for anyone. Whereas the insecure who are showing their insecurity, they are the people who would be the pleasers. They are the people who would follow the strong leader who will give them value and purpose, who will tell them, if you follow me, finally you will be worthy, because guess what? Right now, you are not worthy. So there are different strategies to appeal to each side, but they are both vulnerable. The domineering will be attracted to the cone builders, like the rebels and the saviors, who will say, I will give you someone to dominate, you know? So all of these things, all of these extremes are vulnerable in different ways. Another one, sorry, are the hopeless pessimists on one side and the relentless optimists on the other side. So the hopeless pessimists are attracted by people who scare them, right? Who play on their pessimism, because it's the confirmation bias, right? If you're already worried that anything that can go wrong will go wrong, and I will tell you something is about to go so horribly wrong and only I can fix it, guess what? That's the person you will follow. On the other side, the relentless optimists are the people who are believers in the good and the kind. And you would think, oh, these should be in the middle, right? These should be the difficult recruits. But no, because relentless optimists will fall for false promises without realizing that someone is capable of lying to them so big and so badly, right? So again, these extremes are recruitable. The next are the entitled on one side and the wannabes on the other side. So the entitled are the people, well, you know what entitled is, right? These are the people who feel that they should have everything without having to work for it. They deserve to have. And cone builders come to them and say, yeah, you deserve. And you know what? I know who's taking it away from you, or who might take it away from you, or who might expose you as non-deserving. So I will, follow me, and I will make sure that you will get everything that you deserve to get without working for it. And then the wannabes are the people who don't have these privileges, but they desire to have these privileges. That is their dream. They feel that is what's going to make them happy. And then if I come to you and I say, all these things that you don't have in your life, I can give them to you if you follow me. So again, extremes are vulnerable. Then we have the immoral egotists on one side and the self-righteous on the other side. Now, that's an interesting one. The immoral egotists are similar in some ways. There are commonalities with the domineering, but they don't always need to domineer. They just want the good and easy life, and they don't want to feel bad about it. It's like again, many of them are entitled. Many of them are sociopaths. They have no empathy. They want what they want, and they don't care who pays the price for that. And they are easy to recruit because, again, these cone builders promise them to get all the good things in life without working for them, all the good things in life without feeling guilt about having it. On the other side, we have the self-righteous. Now, the self-righteous are sort of divided into subcategories. Some are self-righteous in almost like in the religious sense. So they are the black and white. Everything is black and white in life. You are either righteous or you're a sinner. You are either a virgin or a whore. You are either a good person or a bad person. So everything is black and white. They are very deterministic that way. And so it's very easy to play on their black and white thing, because I'm with the righteous, and you join me, you will be righteous as well. And then there are, some of them are also self-restricting. So some of the self-righteous people in that category are the ones that punish themselves. They don't feel that they deserve to have the good things in life because it's sinful. It's that kind of the self-flagellation thing, flagellation. And then there are, which is a fairly new category that we have seen emerge in recent years, which are and I haven't even written about it in the book because when I was writing the book, this category was so young, literally speaking, that it had not yet come into the view of research or anything like that. But now it is very visible, and they are what some researchers call the morally homeless. And morally homeless people are people who feel such emptiness and futility and loneliness in their lives. And usually they live on social media alone. And that's the reality, social media and influencers. And they are looking for a cause to follow. That's the moral homelessness, that they have nothing, they don't have values actually, because they don't even know anything much about the world or what's good or what's bad. Unlike the ones who are the black and white, these ones are just confused and have this moral homelessness. And so if you present them with a just cause, they will follow you as if their lives depend on it, because suddenly they have a cause. Suddenly they can show the world how moral they are, right? So all of this virtue signaling that we are seeing, all the people who film themselves on, I am so angry about this. They have no idea about anything about this subject, but now they have the opportunity to show the world that they have values and that they have merit. So these are also very easily low-hanging fruit to recruit into cones. Then we have the perpetual victims on one side. Sorry. These are the people who always feel like someone wronged them. In some ways, this is a quality of, or this is the nature of covert narcissists, and there are a lot of them. These are the people who will always blame others for everything bad that happened in their lives. And bad things may have happened in their lives indeed. It's not always imaginary, but they take up the persona of a victim. Their whole existence is a victim personality. And these are very easily recruited into cones because all you have to do is tell them that your cause will vindicate them, that finally they will have a voice, finally they will have power, finally they will no longer be a victim. Of course, this is a lie. They will actually become victims of that cone, but the promises will appeal to them based on this weakness. On the other side of it, we have the envious and the vengeful. And the envious and the vengeful, some of them are also sort of perpetual victims, but these are the people who have been wronged, who have been fighting perhaps other cones in their lives, who feel that they have this burning need for revenge, or they envy those that have something that they don't have. All of these extreme emotions are raw for the picking. They are just ripe for the picking, right? So, and the last one in this category of vulnerabilities are the naive on one side and the willfully ignorant on the other side. So what are the naive? The naive in what I describe as the naive are people who are naturally naive. So the very young, the young children are naive. They don't have enough tools to analyze the world, to criticize, to think critically, to discern truths from lies. So they are the naive. That's why it's so easy to indoctrinate children and youth. The naive can be cognitively challenged. So perhaps they are not, they don't have the cognitive ability to discern the truth, and very isolated people. So cult members, right? People who grew up in a very very protective, limiting environment where they really have no tools of their own to even weigh options or figure out who's lying to them, these are easily controlled and easily recruited people into cones. On the other side, there are the willfully ignorant. These are the people who say, do not confuse me with facts. I don't want to hear your facts. I don't want to hear evidence that contradicts my beliefs. I love the things that I believe in. I believe in them, and don't bother me with anything alternative. These are the people who have all the capacity to examine alternate information, who have access to facts, but choose to ignore them. These are as well the low-hanging fruit for recruitment, because these are the people who will never listen to any evidence against their cone master, right? They will dismiss anything, no matter how powerful the evidence. So these are sort of the main personas, or not persona, or vulnerabilities that would attract. But I must tell you that no one is immune. No one. You may look at these and say, I'm none of them, therefore I'm not in any cone. Yeah, that's an illusion. First of all, you don't have to be extreme on any of them. You can be just a little bit, and the right persona will hook you in. And you don't have to be, that doesn't have to be part of who you are. It can sometimes simply be the state that you are in the moment. Something happened in your life and suddenly it triggers your insecurities, or it triggers your feeling of victimhood, or it triggers something that on any normal day would not, you would be that person in the middle who is a difficult recruit. But in that moment, you become vulnerable. And there they are to hook you in, right? And once you're in, as I said, it's like a black hole. It is very difficult to suddenly look from the outside and say, why am I doing this? Who are these people? Are they lying to me? No. It swallowed you whole. And then there's this whole role reversal when you start defending them, right? When you start protecting them because now you believe in them. So where do people fall within the cone? I would say that there are three major categories. One category at the very, very top are the people who are the cone masters. Now, plural, because in some cases it's only one. Let's say a relationship with a controlling, abusive partner or a narcissist, there's one cone master, right? But most cones are bigger. And so there are several, not that there are several head ones, because usually there's one head, but the circle of the cone masters includes those who know the truth and control all the others. And then there's the circle of the zealots, of the ones who believe in them and will kill and die for them. They are also part of the elite, I would say, of the cone. And none of them is bothered by the harm and the unmet needs of the cone. The vast majority in every cone structure are the loyal subjects. And these two are sort of divided into two groups. One group are the strong believers who will obey and enforce the laws of the cone on all others. They are not higher ups in the ranks, but they are the strong believers. And then there are the ones who they don't know, they don't care. They just live their daily life inside the cone. And for them, that's just normal life with all the goods and bads in it. They don't question it. They don't have a say in it. They just live their lives and, keep your head down and keep paddling. Then there is this minority at the very bottom of the barrel or the cone, and they are called the cone traitors, because they are the people who dare to doubt and question and rebel against the cone from the inside. Many of them actually are upset but remain silent, and they comply. And it's for two big reasons. One reason is fear, because of the consequences that might befall you if you open your mouth against the cone or ask difficult questions. And the other reason is that bias, which I cannot remember the name of it right now, but it's that bias where we think that we are the only ones who think that way. And we don't realize that many others have doubts, but because no one speaks, we go along to get along, right? So it's that kind of problem. And then there are the vocal rebels, the vocal people who say, this is not okay. And depending on the cone, they will always pay a price. Depending on the cone, it depends on what price they will pay. Some cones, they will be thrown out of the family for speaking ill about the problems in the family. And in other cases, they will be killed because that's the kind of cone. So what is that? How does this magic of role reversal happens? And when I say role reversal is when I give in my book an example of animals in the zoo. So it is when you are enclosed in someone's cage, but you don't realize this is a cage. You are the one who guards the cage. You are the one who doesn't let others out. You are the one who says, oh, look at all the idiots outside the cage, how vicariously they live. All of these things, precariously. All of these things is you become the guard of your own prison. That's the role reversal. And it is magical. It's dark magic, right? But how does it work? There are several ploys that cone masters use to enclose and to keep their subjects loyal. One is they start indoctrinating us from a very young age. This is the reality that we grow up in. Think about the cosmetics industry, the beauty industry. From a very young age, we hear that beauty matters, that we are measured by our beauty, by our slimness, especially women, by the way, but now men as well. And that our worth and value will be measured by this. This is indoctrination by an industry, right? And the younger they get us, the more loyal we become throughout life because we have never had the chance to analyze it. It becomes our core certainty, which is buried underneath the ground. We don't even know it's there. It controls us. Propaganda is another way of manipulating and indoctrinating us through bombardment of information, usually false or falsified or completely lies, but sounds outrageous, plays to our vulnerabilities. We fall for them, we're done. Another way of the manipulating us is poking our deepest emotions and our deepest insecurities. So shaming us, inflaming our fear, making us disgusted by those others that we scapegoat, calling them cockroaches and rats and dehumanizing them and elevating us to we are the superior, like all of these mind tricks that play to our vulnerabilities, causing us pain, telling us that our pain is someone else's fault, gaslighting us. Every time we will have doubts, they will say, are you crazy? What are you thinking? This never happened. All of these tactics that used by individuals, and they are used by systems, by cone systems, work magic. Of course, the divide and conquer is very, very powerful. And the divide and conquer creates others. It others some people and blames them for everything that's wrong with us. And then we believe it and we will fight them. We will back up our leader, no matter how harmful they are, how much lying they are, no matter what. This othering works magic on our psyche. And in some cones, the othering is not just of others, it is othering ourselves from ourselves. So there's the self-othering, where you are taught that you are bad to yourself, that you are bad for yourself, that you cannot be trusted with yourself, that you were born a sinner, and only if you follow me will you be righteous, will I absolve you from your sins, right? And it doesn't have to be religious. Religion is just the easiest example, but there is a lot, like you are so flawed in abusive relationships. There is the othering from your surroundings to isolate you, and then there's the othering from yourself, where the victim is made to believe that they are so unworthy that they deserve to be beaten, they deserve to be mistreated, and they should say thank you for me even staying with you, right? That's self-othering. And of course, the divide and conquer radicalizes people through righteousness. Remember the rebel persona, where I will justify every piece of your darkness and wash it into righteousness. And then you can do your worst and feel good about it. Another trick of role reversal is stupidifying us. And stupidifying us, unfortunately, is easier than most methods because it speaks to our desire for an easier life. We don't want to think deeply. We don't want to work hard to figure out who's wrong and who's right and to look at nuance. We don't have time for that. And in fact, intentionally, they keep us busy and distracted so that we don't have the time, the energy, or the will and desire to look into nuances, to research information for ourselves. It's just too hard. Oh, there's one sentence. I'm good. It told me what I need to know. Oh, look at the game. There's fast food. There's news. Oh, someone slapped someone. Let's talk about that for 6 months and ignore the other big problems, right? So it's this distraction that stupidifies us. They use terminating thought phrases. For example, Brexit, right? They use the phrase, Brexit is Brexit. I kid you not. What does it mean? Nothing. It means nothing. And yet people voted for Brexit against their own best interest. Because these meaningless phrases, they plug our brains and we're like, oh, that's it. I know what I need to do. So I apologize for giving this example because it's recent and it's still very contentious, but all the people who have no idea what's going on in the Middle East going around and chanting, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Regardless of what you believe in this area, most protesters had no idea which river, what sea, what it even meant, who Palestine should be free from, right? They just knew it's the Israelis and the Jews who are the others we need to hate. And they didn't even realize that what this phrase actually means is kill all the Jews. That's what it means, because Israel is situated between a river and a sea, between the river of Jordan and the Mediterranean Sea. And so from a river to the sea, Palestine will be free means we have to kill all Israelis. This is a call for genocide, but most people didn't even know what it means. They didn't know that Palestine has been free from 2015, that they had their own autonomy. Like, none of that mattered. None of that mattered. It was a great brain plug, and it spoke to people's moral homelessness, where they were just looking for a just cause to show how moral they are in public. And so you see how these things can get inflamed and pulled into senseless movements that become violent for no good reason. But the magic works. Sterilizing language is another thing that's very, very useful for cone masters. Things like, sorry, I'm aware of time. I talk a lot. Just wave if I need to make
No,
it short.
keep going, keep going. It's about 5 to 11, but we said we were going to be a bit longer today, so no
Okay.
worry. Well, yeah, we're all mesmerized, so it's all good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. So sterilizing language is saying things like the woman was raped instead of saying the man raped the woman, or saying the prices of medications were hiked up instead of saying the the companies raised the price of their medications, right? So you take out the culprit out of the equation, and then you cleanse it, or calling things like energy exploration instead of oil drilling. That doesn't sound that good, right? So all of these things, they empty our minds, they stupidify us, and once we become stupid, we become easy and malleable and loyal to those who harm us. And of course, we all fall for their ploys. As I said, it doesn't take an idiot to fall for them because they manipulate our cognitive faculties. Many of us believe that the more intelligent we are, the more immune we are to cones. But that is not true, because it doesn't matter how intelligent you are still a human being with emotions and biases and vulnerabilities, and that's where they hook you on that. And when you have a high IQ, all it does for you is you will find more intelligent justifications for your choices, for your bad choices. Okay? So it's natural. And the problem is it's contagious, because there's the mass thing. There are a lot of experiments where you put several people in a room. You put one person in a room and you start filling the room with smoke. Right away, that person will alert someone that the room is filling with smoke. But you put that person with 9 other actors who will all ignore and say there's no such thing as the smoke, and the person will sit there until they suffocate and they will not say anything. That is because as human beings, we seek belonging. We seek social proof. We want the approval of our peers. And so even if there are just a few people that are starting to radicalize and they start shaming us for being traitors, we join them, even if we don't believe in it, even if we don't understand it, even, right? So it's contagious and it can affect anyone. And the problem is that cones don't operate in isolation. Cones interact and intersect. They empower each other. They work in tandem. And so because our lives are so surrounded by cones, we grow to believe that this is normal, that this is okay. Yeah, life is tough. So what? Pull yourself up by your bootstraps or something stupid like that. But here's the good news. Cones are not lean and mean systems. They may start as lean and mean and sophisticated, but as they grow, they become stupid. They become heavy. They become bureaucratic. This tank that you see here is from a story I tell, which is an old joke about an army unit that bought new tanks. And the instructions that the head honcho got was that this tank has to be oiled on a monthly basis to keep them running. And so they give orders to their subordinates saying, every other week, just to be on the safe side, right? Oil it every other week. And as it goes down the ranks, every rank, multiplies it and says, no, every day. By the end of it, the tanks break down because they were over oiled and no one can use them because everyone is busy oiling them. So that is something that happens in cones. there's a multiplication of rules, and the rules are also bent to benefit the cone masters and to disadvantage their subjects. They allow themselves to be corrupt in the beginning secretly, and as they become more powerful, they stop being embarrassed about being corrupt. They justify it as something that they deserve to have. They become very bureaucratic and sluggish because the more laws and rules you have, because you don't trust anyone, the bigger systems you have to put in place to monitor all these laws, to enforce them, to update, it just becomes such a mess. And many times this mess is a combination of just this behemoth that you can no longer control, with intentional complexity to make sure no one finds their way through the maze that you built. So one of the things I wanted to tell you about, because that's the end of my big lecture, is hopefully in 2 or 3 months, I'm going to launch my new Cone Self-Exploration online course. And it's a course that you can complete it. It's asynchronous, so it's on your own time and motivation. And I always suggest that you take this course along with supports. So with a therapist, with a good friend that can support you, you can take it on your own, but it will float all kinds of difficult emotions. It might trigger you. It might re-traumatize you, because as you start digging up all the abuses in your life and all the mistreatment and all the cones, it can be difficult. So I actually, my intention is to promote it mostly to therapists and coaches and mentors that will use it to work with their clients than just to the general public, because I'm a great believer that this kind of work has to be supported. But what it will have is, it will have three big parts. One is exploring who I am and what I believe, my core certainties, where did I get them, who taught me, how do they harm me, how do they make me harm others that I'm not even aware of, because I believe that it's okay. Then, of course, the big part is exploring who the cones are in your life. It's an in-depth exploration, very deep, with there's a lot of work that goes in there, but it's very interactive. It's very guided, very handheld throughout the process, where you figure out who the cones in your life. And then the last one is an action plan. What to do now that you know, now that you've awakened, what do you do with that? And again, there's a guidance of how you build your plan, and a strong recommendation to do it with supports. And throughout, there are unwind activities, breathing exercises, dance, all kinds of things, because it's not easy. That's it for today.
Wow, amazing. You can scan that, get to there. I'll let you, yeah, I was going to say, Nava, take some water. Let's all just take a couple of minutes or a minute to just kind of breathe a bit. Because I can imagine that the work will have us revisit all of these cones, and even just hearing you explain, because I did read and look at some of these personas and myself, because I think so much is self-awareness, right? Just it's I wish I had it 20 years or more ago, right? We all could.
You and I
So this
both.
work that you're doing is just absolutely incredible. What a body of work, and your research, and how you've taken so much time to identify what we don't see. And so thank you for that, first of all. I'm almost teary-eyed because I'm going to need some work.
Oh, we all do,
Oh, we
Helen.
all do, but there's so much to unravel, and so, there's some comments. I can share that with you first, but I do want to make sure if anyone has any questions about this part of the book. I mean, you know, this is something that have to spend time on, I think, to really continue to explore, each part of it. But I can't unsee some of it, as far as like,
Yeah.
It's interesting, as a student, I worked in government. I've worked in government. I've worked in many large, huge corporations.
Mm-hmm.
I've been involved in lots of communities, and I keep thinking about my love for learning, and then I'm like, man, am I being brainwashed? Am I being like stuck into a cone all the time? So I think it's going to be really good for me to kind of look at it, because I've been focusing on intentionality a lot, and really, saying, wait a minute, before I make this decision, I need to pause, because in the past, I would make a quick, oh, that sounds great. What was the marketing brainwashing that was happening to me at the time? And even as we navigate communities, and I can say I've done quite a bit of work. I just have way more to unravel and unlearn and relearn. And so I just want to again thank you. I was going to ask you, because I loved that whole section about identifying the personas, and I like also that other aspect of how we, become influenced, right? So, I have a much better understanding, because again, to just hear you go through it, I know you're just trying to put decades of work into something. So I look forward to like keeping the conversations going. I wanted to make sure Lovell or Andrea have a chance to ask you any particular questions. Um, and the one thing I did just want to ask about, is there a way, and maybe this comes up later, but so much of it looking at my own vulnerability. And I know, because of things, how I grew up, and I've been unraveling some of that for 10 years now or so. But is there a way that you could just, even on a practical basis going forward, and then, until we continue, deepening our knowledge about this, to just look at things from a practical perspective before we say, oh, we're gonna go into this, or we're gonna become this person that's gonna like follow this next person or something. I'd be curious on just even a practical way to like maybe take that pause, or
Yeah.
yeah.
I am addressing it later on, like in my last chapter, but regardless, honestly, I think that visibility of these things to us is such a huge key. I'll give you an example. In the tool that I've developed, that I call it course, but I just didn't know how to call it otherwise, tool, whatever. There are 10 big questions in the middle where you identify who the cones in our life are, that you have to answer about this person that you chose to analyze, or the system that you chose to analyze. And for example, one of the questions are, is this person using toxic behaviors in communication with you, right? And initially, when I developed it first, I was like, well, it's enough to ask, you would know. And then I was like, no, actually you wouldn't. And so what I've created is like 120 indicators of specific behaviors that you go through the list and you tick mark each that feels familiar, that you might not even have thought it is toxic, that you might have thought this is what relationships look like, this is normal behavior, this is what systems do, that's what it's supposed to be, until you realize it's under the list of toxic, right?
Mm.
You know, at a certain point, not very long ago, I after a very difficult revelation about my own early childhood, I my mind opened to understand that I was not only sexually abused, but that I was raised by two narcissists. And that is something I never, ever knew or suspected, ever. I loved my parents, I protected them. I was raised to be the pleaser and the peacemaker. And every toxic behavior that they used on me was seen as the care of a parent and education. And even though I was the one who developed that list, as I went through it, analyzing my own relationship with my parents, I was sitting crying. Sorry. Because the most powerful tool of how to prevent something from happening to you in the future, or how to pull yourself out of something toxic, is to see it as plain as day in front of you. It's a harsh mirror. And that's not the only one. As I said, there are 10 different things that you will be going through, hundreds of items to tick mark to figure out how much loyalty do they demand of you, unconditional loyalty. What kind of tools do you use to control your behavior? What, like all of these things. And as it aggregates, you know, and accumulates, and you look at that and you say, how did I not see it? How did I not feel it? How did I live like everything was fine? And so that's why I'm saying that you need a therapist when you go through it, because that kind of awakening is difficult, but it is essential. Without it, we will keep following the next cone in line and the next cone in line, and even creating our own cones without realizing it, right? So it's that process of unpacking that truly gives us tools. And then we can find tools, we can find supports, we will figure out how to leave that system or how to live in it if we have no other choice, right? It all depends. The solutions will come from the realization, and solutions will be different for every person, but it's that first unraveling that is the most powerful thing. That
Wow. Well, thank you. Because I think, I mean, this is so important. And first of all, thank you for sharing that so openly. Um, you know, it's one thing to actually, you know, many of us will never look back, right? We will just continue in these cones and our life and not know, you know. So that work to look at our lives and what, you know, circumstances and all of that is not easy. I've done some of it already, but it's a continued thing. So I mean, thank you for doing that. That's a really tough thing that you had to go through to, first of all, experience that, but also the relationships with your parents, who are our primary caregivers from an early, you know, from birth, and created us. And so to kind of come to terms with some of that. So I look forward to digging deep. I really believe, I mean, I think about language a lot because I don't, you know, we hear a lot about violence and domestic abuse physically without really understanding that there is a lot in the words we use, and that, you know, that can be very abusive as well. And so, you know, wow, this is going to be so helpful. And I love how you call it awakening, because I think that's what it is. And this is what we're here as humans. Like our spirits, our souls are here to awaken. And, you know, even seeing myself in some of this, I am more of an optimist and love. Yet I can be real, and I can, you know, experience so many of those aspects, right? But maybe that's because you know, I've I think we all have our own lenses and experiences that then kind of draw us to a certain thing, right? But this whole like I mean, we could talk forever. This whole influencer coaching world, and it's just kind of fascinating to see the victim, like you are not worthy, you need fixing. It's like just it's just so like in your face now, right? Like you can, and to you have to be strong in who you are to say, wait, like I don't know that I need fixing, like, maybe, but not on what you're offering me.
Yeah.
So Andrea or Lovell, do you have anything you'd like to ask? I know this has been really a little different, but so important. And I really loved the format of you being able to, share, speak a lot more, and then have the questions. Because a lot of times it's questions and, we don't get into it as much, but I'm glad we're giving it the space to kind of evolve.
Lava, I see you unmuted yourself. You want to tell me something? Ask?
Yeah, first of all, I want to apologize. My camera is really acting up, so I had to be off camera, and even now. But thank you so much for all of this. I'm so saddened I missed the earlier one, the first session, but this was so awakening. And like how Helen was saying, she's tearing up. I was not only just getting emotional, but so many different emotions coming through and reflecting, like so many reflections just flashed through the brain and did not even realize how it has been affecting, and it does affect and continues to do that. And there is like no idea, like the way you presented it, that's when you start realizing. Before that, you just keep going on in a rut because um y- there is no awareness about this. It's just that so ingrained in us from the moment we are born. And for some reason, I might be biased, but I think women are more vulnerable to all of this than men. They're, I don't know, either they're too strong or their personality, or I don't know what it is.
I would argue that women are more vulnerable to certain things and men are more vulnerable to other things. So remember how vulnerability has two edges to it, right? So
Mhm.
women are usually more vulnerable to one side, which is the insecurity, because that's what's ingrained in us. We are always told we're not good enough, the victimhood, the weakness, the wannabe, the right. These are the things that women are more vulnerable to, that kind of manipulation, whereas men are more vulnerable to the extremes of domineering, looking to dominate. Like, look how successful the incel movement is, or even the Trump followers. They are very, sure, there are women there, but it's a very male dominant following, right? Street gangs. So men are as vulnerable, if not more, because the comb builders play on their toxic masculinity, and the fear of losing their potency and the fear of losing control, and their ingrained um, uh, deservedness, right, of having everything in life. So I think that women and men are as vulnerable, just to very different kinds of ploys.
Yeah, like I said, I'm biased, so
Yeah, and obviously, as a woman, I agree with you. I see all the harm that has been done and is being done to women by these codes that can be personal, familial, cultural, religious, state-based, system-based, right? Like everything. Women don't have it sweet, that's for sure. I agree with you.
right. And And what saddens me is when I see other women being the cones.
Yes.
That saddens me even more.
Yeah.
How, like, how does that happen? No idea,
Ah,
but
come to the third one and I'll tell you how it happens.
I know it is, so I think it is on December 15th, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And I will try my best, but it's so close to the holiday season, and my son is coming around that time. So I will try my best. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's
Yeah, and we'll record anyway, but it would be lovely to have you. I feel like that's why we did a little bit longer for this and put it in three because it is there's a lot and it's amazing and I loved how we did it. Um, Andrea, before we wrap, because we do only have a little bit more time. And I know it has been amazing to have you here because you just have so much insights as well. And so, yeah, I want to make sure you have a little bit of time to ask Nava anything or just even comment. So, thanks again for being here.
Thank you. Today there was nothing for me to beside the comments, but one thing in the end, just like a comment. Where I'm at now is fine-tuning my business model, which is funny, right? Cone and the business model. Anyway, so we'll see how that goes. But one point that came to me today at the end was ethical marketing. And in order to do that, I'm following Tad Hargrave, who's a Canadian and a storyteller, and the guy who brings ethical marketing in marketingforhippies.com. And I've been listening to some of his videos, and because he mentioned what people commented on something, I'm like, we cannot filter, we don't have that discernment of what's ethical marketing, what's not. Because first, we need that capacity to see the cone, to understand, ask ourselves those hundreds of questions, and do our inner work. And then pragmatically, when we hear something, we could be like, oh, this is not manipulation. This is what they can do, what they want to offer. It's up to me whether I say yes or no. It doesn't mean they manipulate, because that was the situation, for example, in a case. So I see this understanding and learning, the education we have through your book and your work, to actually help us really have that clarity of who's doing what and not confusing simply somebody putting something on the table, being open with us, and probably vulnerable too, saying, hey, I need sales and this is a good stuff that I believe in. If you believe in it too, like, I'm offering a discount for you because I'm thinking of your budget too, and I need the money now. Like, there are things where we confuse manipulation and we're like, this is not ethical, when actually we don't see the humanity in everything in that moment, right? So it's so funny how one thing actually can bring us to the better of life if we study. So thank you. I will apply it to that.
Sure. I think that's a great point that you're making. Not every promotion is evil. Not every marketing is manipulative, right? So it's true. It's just how you do it matters. And if you feel that you have been given the information and it's been respectful and there's no shaming or othering or playing on your vulnerabilities, then absolutely marketing has a place for it. Like, how else would you know about something that could be helpful to you? I mean, it's wonderful if there's good marketing out there. We need it. We just need it in the right way, not in the manipulative, harmful, exploitive way, for sure. And finding that balance is an art. But I think that once you understand how cones work, it's actually very easy to do it the right way, because now you know all the wrong ways that you don't want to go, right? For
Yeah,
sure.
darn, I made too many mistakes.
We all have.
I've been there, but those are good stories and sharing to tell, right? As far as like, wait, now that I'm like, again, And you know, I think it's okay. But I think wow, this was really, I really enjoyed today. I really um can can take this and apply it in many ways, but also looking forward to the next session to, you know, unravel this a bit more because I think, as you call it, you know, and some of the Andrea, we're going to introduce you to Coralus. We mentioned it last time. I haven't had a chance, but that's how I met Nava originally.
Yeah.
And, you know, even that, you know, again, when you have communities and organizations, they have to evolve too. And so we're seeing it kind of in this community how looking at systems and looking at just the way things have happened, but you want to make sure you don't replicate. That's the part that I find really interesting, Nav, is that we all think we're starting something new sometimes, but we could become that cone master again.
Yeah.
And I've always been uncomfortable with this whole influencer follower, and then now I see the whole coaching industry. I put that in the comments as, you know, it's kind of an interesting thing to look at because a lot of times it is about fixing. And, you know, so even the word tools, like you said, I'm like, do I even like that? Because then it indicates that we need fixing. And it was actually, it was a beautiful coach I had spent some time with where she helped me with more like nervous system regulation. And it was always about going back to worthiness and wholeness, and you don't really need fixing, but what you need, you know, but then there's something else you need, right? So I'm still like, oh, but I need this. So,
Yeah. I think
yeah,
the most beautiful thing, and I will jump the gun and give you a spoiler about next time, is that leaving a cone doesn't require a war. It doesn't require a fight. It doesn't require tearing yourself up. All it requires is awakening and walking away. And the simplicity of it can be almost unbelievable. Now, not everything is always available. I mean, some people are truly locked in their cones and they have no way out. But even internally, you can walk out, right? Even if you can't physically walk away, you can emotionally walk away and distance
yeah,
yourself from the manipulation, from the shaming, from the abuse. You can distance yourself emotionally by forgiving yourself, by moving into a safer space in yourself. So, actually, in many ways, it is much simpler than we would think, right? But it's a simplicity that you can only get to after all the understanding all the complexities. It's going to
yeah,
be
no kidding.
right. You have to
Yeah,
go through
you've
the
been working on
darkness.
it for years. We got to catch up.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways.
Well, I think that's a wonderful way to close today. And we're going to continue on December 15th. I think it actually will be in a way, it's a beautiful timing as we go into that last spending time with their families and other people. And, you know, as we're looking at December and the busyness, you know, to take some of this with us too, right? So I think I'm looking forward to that. I really want to thank you again for all of your time and
Thank
spending the
you
time
so
putting the
much.
presentations together and just sharing this knowledge. And Andrea and Lovell, thanks for being here. I really
Thank you
appreciate
so
you both.
much for joining and coming and for all your questions and comments. I absolutely
Yeah,
adore it.
yeah.
That's why I did
Oh,
it. That's why I wrote the book so that people can benefit from it. So to me,
Mm-hmm.
it is just, it fills my
Yeah,
heart. Thank you.
yeah. So
yeah,
as
no,
we move into the,
thank you. And thank you, Helen, for creating this space.
Yes,
thank you.
absolutely.
Yeah. It
Amazing.
has been a joy this year um, to gather with people and you know and also support those that took time to write books. And it is through, I love reading. It is through that I learn a lot, but to be able to actually speak with the person that had the ideas is it's just been I just have really enjoyed it. So and look forward to more. I've already getting the lineup of authors for next year. So I'll keep you posted. I will send out a survey to get insights on what people would like with future book circles. It's an evolution. I love just evolving as I go, and yeah, I having done some work. I don't, we have to take in some feedback and receive as well, and look, the biggest thing I'm taking away, and I'll close here, is having mirrors and having awareness through sharing with others is a really interesting way to look at ourselves. And so I'm thankful for that too. So everyone have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you so
We're
much.
into December next week, but I'm looking forward to December 15th for the final part, and continuing to keep in touch anyway. But I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Be careful if you're out there. Stay safe in the weather, and yeah, I look forward to more sharing with you in the future. So have a great day.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Have a great
everybody.
weekend. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.